this video, we're going to begin our discussion for the second half of the course using the processing computer language. Processing is a language developed at MIT, and it was developed specifically for people who are not computer scientists, but nevertheless want to use the computer to do artistic and multimedia applications. Now, what I'm showing right here on my screen is the processing.org website, which is where you may go to download processing for your laptops. And so if you click on here, if you go to click on download processing and slide down the page a bit, you'll see they have the stable releases for processing listed right here. And in particular, the one as of this recording, which I would recommend for those of you using Windows machines, is 3.5.4, and go to the Windows 64 and download that version of processing, not the Windows 32. Now, I'm using a Mac, so and if you are using a Mac, you might want to download this right here. Now, when I was in Kyrgyzstan back in February, and I tried to download processing off of their web page, I wasn't able to do it. I kept running into problems. And I'm not sure what the problem was, whether it was something locally on the UCA system, which didn't allow me to download it, or whether it was something out of the server, the processing server, which wouldn't let me to download it. I don't know. Now, what I've done is I have, in fact, downloaded the Win64 version, and I have it. And when the time comes, I will just take it and I'll try to post it on the UCA website or email it to people or whatever. And I'm probably going to ask the IT people to see if they could put it on the system and allow it to be installed on your laptops, because we're going to need to use it. So with that now, what I want to do is to discuss some applications of processing here. Let me go back here to the right here. Okay, now there's a whole set of videos and tutorials about processing, which you can view if you go to their website, and I think you'll find those to be pretty useful. This fellow right here, he's an interesting fellow. Maybe he's a little bit manic, but that's better than being boring, I guess. So you can look at some of those videos. Now, what I wanted to show you first off here is several years ago when I first started using processing, and I was working with middle school and high school students on it. So many of them were able to learn and do useful things on processing. And I want to show you two particular applications for a middle school student, developed by a middle school student. Now, I helped there, so she had me helping her developing these applications. But nevertheless, they show some of the capabilities of the processing language. Now, the first one I want to show is a very, very simple computer game called Bounce. And this Bounce 19 is the 19 modification of the software. Now, this is a programming language, and it implements basically a Pong type computer game. Most of you have probably never played Pong. It was the very first computer game to be commercially available anywhere in the world. I remember when it first came out. So with Pong here, now I could quick run through some particular features on the on this program that implements it. But rather than go through that, let me just demonstrate for you how the program works, and then I can explain some of the things as it's working. So I'm going to run the program right here. Now it's counting down to start the program. And okay, so you see that. Now I'm supposed to control the blue paddle. The computer controls the red paddle. And I didn't control the blue paddle to bounce the ball back toward the red paddle. You heard there were some noises, drum noises, when the ball bounces off of something. There's a drum noise, and those are caused by a couple of sound files that have been downloaded and executed in the program. The computer automatically calculates the position of this paddle right here, the red paddle, in order to put it into the proper position for bouncing the ball back. Now, the computer can do this perfectly. It can always place the red panel in the correct position. So if we just let that happen, the computer never makes a mistake. So you're bound to lose when you're playing up against the computer. However, in the program that executes the game here, a random number generator was used to add errors in the computed position for the paddle. So there is a low probability that the computer will make a mistake and the ball will not bounce off of there, and the human player operating the blue paddle will score a point. Also, what happens as the game progresses, if you get better at it and it keeps going and going and going and you keep managing to bounce the ball back, is that the speed of the ball gradually increases, making it more challenging as the game goes on to react and position the paddle properly. Okay, now, so explaining some of those things here, let me restart the game. There, oh, now look at that. Okay, let me try to remember how I move the paddle and then get ready to do that here. I'll start the game. Oop, I missed it there. Let me try this again. I'm losing big time. Look at that. That's terrible. There we go. Oh, okay. Not doing well, am I? Look at that. I haven't had to move the paddle there for a while. Oh, wow. That was hard. So you see how this goes. Okay, now I'll end it there. Okay, so yeah, the computer scored big right here. So that's a very simple computer game we call Bounce, which emulates the Pong computer game from many, many, many years ago. Okay, so with that, let me quit Bounce. Now let me show you a multimedia presentation that was also developed by a middle school student. So let me just close this and pull off this. Okay, in history class for these students, they had a class debate on the morality or ethics for the United States dropping the atomic bomb on Hiroshima and Nagasaki during World War II. And the student suffered from severe anxiety, and so I suggested to her that she actually make her opening statement in the debate using multimedia presentation generated with the processing programming language. So she pulled together animation, graphics, sound, images, and sort of put everything together to try, since her job was to do the opening statement for the debate team for the side that she was on, so she wouldn't actually have to stand up and talk about these things, to make a processing program that would do the presentation for her. And I'm going to show the entire program here. Might be a little bit too long. I hope it doesn't bore you too much. But as you go along, the program will do different things. And so you get some idea what's going on. I will tell you, because I can remember, the most challenging thing was to show an animation that indicated an airplane dropping leaflets, because there were warning leaflets dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, warning the population that it was coming and they should get out of town. And in having the animation showing an airplane dropping the leaflets, we wanted the leaflets to look like they were fluttering as they fell to the ground, the way you might imagine slips of paper fluttering in the air as they're dropping from an airplane to the ground. So that was probably the most difficult programming task here, was how to do that. That also was done using random numbers in the positioning for the little icons representing the pieces of paper as they're falling to the ground. So you'll see this a couple of minutes into the presentation. You will also notice several other graphics. There's an airplane going across the screen. You see the size of the airplane being diminished, which was also generated in the program. Sound files played. It was really a multimedia presentation here, and for a middle school student, it was a pretty good job. So let me run the program here, and let's see what happens.
The world will note that the first atomic bomb was dropped on Hiroshima, a military base. We won the race of discovery against the Germans. We have used it in order to shorten the agony of war, in order to save the lives of thousands and thousands of young Americans. We shall continue to use it until we completely destroy Japan's power to make war.
Okay, so that is the multimedia presentation uh, developed by the middle school student for the opening of her debate team's uh, presentation in the classroom debate. So I hope this gives you some idea on what processing could do, because by no means were these middle schoolers expert in using processing, but nevertheless they were able to do some pretty interesting things. Now my hope is that during the course of the next several weeks that I'll be able to show you all enough about using processing so that if you decide to pick it up and try on your own to see what you can do and study a little bit yourself, I think you'll surprise yourself with what you're able to do using the processing language. So, with that, until next time.